So it's a challenge enough, and we went through that too. It's just starting a business,
Yeah.
but starting a business in an agricultural environment industry where there's not a lot of women at the helm. I mean, we see this in the dairy industry as well, but when you started with your sister, you're getting to know your new family. You find this combined passion together. Did you realize the challenges as women in the wine industry as you were in the early stages? And can you talk a little bit about that and
Yeah.
where you come from that and learned from
We're
those
we
challenges?
were a little naive to think that it was just kind of, as antiquated an industry as it was and still is a little bit. But thank goodness for that naivete because we might not have signed ourselves up otherwise. But we were so fueled and excited about the opportunity for us to have a business together as sisters and around a product that we loved so much. We really jumped right in. And, of course, there were moments, early on and still at times today, but where we were reminded that, this was not a young woman's world, and at the time, like I said, my sister was still in college. I think I was
Yeah.
29 or 30 or some early 30s, I guess. So not only were we women, we were young women, we were women of color. We definitely didn't have any, industry network of people. And, wine has been an old boys club for a long time, right? So there's long-standing families and relationships that existed. And we entered in as, outsiders, right? But I mean, to our benefit at the same time, because I think we were able to come into the industry and look at it with a fresh set of eyes where the industry hadn't quite done that, introspectively yet. And, me and my sister are both very passionate about what we're doing, and we feel very confident about our wines and about the consumers that we're serving. So, as many folks that told us that we didn't know what we were doing and we couldn't be successful, in such a way. And, people telling us we should get a male CEO and all different types of stuff, right?
People love to tell you how to run your business, right?
They really do, and it's like, we're not trying to play, this game the same way it's been done. We're
Yeah.
trying to change it and we're trying to expand it and we're trying to prove how important it is to respect and honor different consumers and people who also love this industry. So thanks, but no thanks for your bad advice. We're not going to take it, and we never
Yes.
did. But we never let it sway us. It's like it's disappointing. At times when you are faced with a power structure that can get in the way of something that we're trying to accomplish. And again, we're always our goal is to make great wine, and always advocating for the consumer and the new consumer, right? We're seeing in the industry and in the world, demographics change, and wine and some other industries are slow to adapt because they've relied on an older generation who's been the main customer and consumer, who's less diverse. And our goal is to always advocate from within the industry and for the consumer and be the voice for both, when we can.
Well, I want to talk about your very smart marketing in a minute, but first getting back to just the people who helped you come along in the very beginning. Who are some of your role models? Do you have an advisory board? Did you reach out to other, specifically women winemakers or winemakers that were redefining this definition of, what the consumer really wanted? Who are
Yeah, it
your
was it
role
was
models?
really difficult, when we first started to even find, anybody that we felt like could understand what our mission was and what our vision was for our business, for our wines, and for the industry. And so there was quite a long period of time in the first few years where we really didn't make any meaningful connections that could kind of help us on our journey. Oddly, I think our first mentor and person who 100% understood what it was that we were trying to do, who is still actually a mentor to us today and is on our board as well, was a gentleman who he's French and he used to be the CEO of Pernod Ricard, which is, you know, an international wine company. And we approached him because we did, you know, as entrepreneurs, you're just always kind of, you know, DMing people and messaging people and reaching out to anybody that you can. And he was like, no, like I totally get it. I see what you, and you guys are right. This is where wine is going. And the industry needs to, you know, adopt some of these ideas that you have if it wants to survive. And of course, at the time, we didn't really understand how big of a company that was because we were still learning. But from having just that one person who really believed in our vision and was supportive of us and said, you know, you guys are doing the right thing and I want to help you, you know, figure out how you're going to do this, and then open some doors to others as well, right? Helped make some introductions to other winemakers and women in the business who, you know, were helpful and could be kind of a sounding board for us along the way. But it took a lot of years for us to get there. And it's one of the reasons why we're actually very passionate about it. And we have our nonprofit, our She Can Fund, just for that, because we don't, the purpose is to make sure that there is a community and that, you know, women and anybody anyway who's in this industry doesn't have to go it alone. We had such a hard time making those connections that we sort of vowed to do everything we can to make sure that other entrepreneurs and people who are interested in this space don't have to go through those same challenges.
Right. I think that's really important that it doesn't necessarily always have to be another woman that is supportive of you. It's somebody that understands
Yeah.
the direction that you want to take it, and with a woman's perspective. How would you say that you and your sister do you manage the business differently as women and with your employees, and what effect is that with your growth?
Yeah, I think we do inherently. It's not necessarily that we say we're gonna do this differently than a man would do it, but of course, being women ourselves and being the founders and owners of the company, and at any given time, I'm not sure what the number is right now, but our company is usually comprised of, you know, 85% women. So from our ownership to our leadership, our thought leadership, and our teams is primarily women. And I think that we, you know, in general, have a different way of approaching um, on wine. I'll say also kind of separately, we have a better palate. Women have a better palate than men do. They never want to admit that, but we are better at, you know, sensory analysis of wines, right? So we feel like we actually get a better product by having a woman winemaker. And then from the way that our marketing is done, you know, communications is, you know, all of it from the voice of a woman, or women by women. We've had challenges in the past where it's kind of like you have to retweak or remassage, you know, kind of how we're communicating or showcasing our products, to make sure that it really speaks from the perspective of a woman and the voice of a woman, and images that are appealing to women, and we talk about occasions that women really understand. And we feel like the best and only way to do that is to have a team of women who are behind everything that we're producing. So, and we're not being, you know, a sexist. I guess we had somebody one time, we did an interview and we said, yeah, our company is like 80% women. And someone, you know, wrote into the comments, was like, I'll never buy from your company because you guys are sexist. You don't hire people based on their ability, which is an interesting perspective. But at the same time, you know, when we're hiring and we have a position that's open and available, who do you think is going to apply because they want to work for a company that's run by women? It's almost completely
Your
women.
employee candidates are mostly women.
Yeah, yeah. And
Well,
not to
it's
say,
inspiring.
not to
You
say that,
inspire people.
yeah, and not to say that there aren't some fine gentlemen, you know, who apply for positions, but by and large, the people who aspire to work with us are indeed women, and we absolutely choose the best candidates for a position. So
That's great. Let's talk about your marketing. And do you specifically market towards women in growing the wine category? And your real fun messaging around sassy and bougie and feeling, it's real feelings. And I think that that brings, when women especially want to grab a glass of wine or get together with friends, it is that playfulness. And I think it makes it more approachable and not as intimidating.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you talk a
Yeah.
little
So,
bit?
I mean, that's, a huge driver for us is we're trying to take away any intimidation that wine has built up, over so long. And what you see is really our personalities, right? So it's not so much of a strategy. It's me and Andrea. But we, since we started the business, we believe that we are our consumer and that if we speak, um, from our own, souls and spirits and thoughts and likes and dislikes and the way that we enjoy wine, a lot of people are going to resonate with it. And, I think there's a lot of times people ask us about that, from a strategic standpoint. And it's like, the best that we can do is authentically be ourselves.
Mhm.
And we believe strongly that there's a lot of people who are like us, who will appreciate the way that we communicate and market the wines and the products. And a lot of it has to do with, for us, has to do with occasion, right? So, there is has been historically level of talking about wine on, a white tablecloth setting, or, pairing your cab with a porterhouse or whatnot. But most people aren't doing that every day of the week. And we want people to incorporate wine into different points in their life. And that could be, movie night with popcorn. And what does that pairing look like? Or throwing a can of wine in your bag when you go to the movies or whatever. So our goal is to help not just be approachable, but to demystify a lot of what has been built up over centuries, really, at least decades. And not to say that there isn't a place for, fine wine and fine dining. And there's a lot of tradition and ceremony and celebrations that happen in those occasions, but there's so many other occasions where you can enjoy wine.
And you have a lot of underlying messaging to women as far
Mhm.
as, I mean, right smack in front of you on your top of your, your web page was go where you don't belong because someday you will, right?
Mhm.
And the she can. There's all this support of women really taking risks and believing in themselves, and you're giving them that authority to go ahead and do that. Have you, how do you think that we can really support? I think that there's such a power in partnership, and we've done that with our
Yes.
social media, and we love that. And, especially with women and young women. And what would be some words of wisdom that you would give some young women getting into, especially the food and wine industry, because
Yeah,
it's a tough industry
it's
and
tough.
going after what they want.
And I think that is to be supportive of each other at all times and in any ways that we can, right? And that's to always work on making those connections, doing collaborations like we do when we can, being supportive because there are tough times, there are low points, right, that happen, and when you have um, partners and other women who understand the challenges that we all go through, there's ways that we can uplift each other and we can help each other, whether it's through I'm going to go ahead and do a feature, of your amazing cheese, during our brunch campaign, or let's hang out and have a glass of wine and talk about our troubles. Um, but and as a reminder, because I feel like a lot of times what happens to us as women in business is just like we were talking about earlier, um, business and particularly our businesses where it's male dominated, rooted, steeped in tradition and family and dynasties and all of these things where we may not have had a voice before. It's very easy to feel a little beat down and to feel, knocked off of your course. And I think that's why our messaging, we continue to have that level of empowerment and be confident about yourself, know yourself, kind of stand your ground, because it's very easy, and these industries will and can very easily take a toll on you. So if you're not confident in yourself, if you don't feel that power, if you're not fueled by, your cohorts, fueled by your customers, fueled by your audience, um, you can very easily, feel the weight of that. And that's not a place that we need to be. We need to be creating amazing products and talking about them with passion and with fervor. So we like to use each other as a reminder of what greatness is and how great all of our work can be.
Yeah, and you said something earlier about coming at an industry with a different perspective. And I
Mhm.
think that in today's ever-changing world, and really speaking to the consumer, that it doesn't have to always be the same way, and that there's a whole audience out there that might not even be, for example, wine drinkers, and you've really brought them along.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I think that's a wonderful thing.
yeah.
And I know we have lots of fun questions that you probably answered before, but what would you tell your younger self if you were to go back in time and give a piece of advice at
Um,
25?
yeah. I think I would tell myself that your dreams do come true and can come true. And quite honestly, that, together with your sister, I met her when I was 26, but together with your sister, you'll do more than you ever imagined.
That's great. That's great. Um, Personal life balance. We talk about that. I don't know if there is such a thing.
No,
That's my personal opinion. What are
no,
your comments on, is there a balance? What is your like everyday life look like?
no, I don't have a like everyday life. But I think that it's a term that should be done away with, to be honest. And I think that, it's often only used in reference to women. And it's an undue amount of pressure. I think that is put on women and women in business, where you don't hear anybody ever asking men about their home life, work balance, right? Um, and the concept, as it's discussed, it's not a real thing. In my opinion, it's not something that's achievable. There's always going to be ebbs and flows, right? And, there's times when your business, um, it needs attention. And, by the laws of physics, less of your attention is going to go to other areas of your life. And so it's kind of, for me anyway, it's this shift. And, I pride myself in being able to recognize when I need to shift is the most important thing. It's never going to be an even balance because it's just not the way the laws of the universe and energy work, right? So I think that the true way that we should talk about it is, do you have your life set up in a way so that you can shift when needed to be able to move through personal relationships, family, children, business, and place your attention where it needs to be when it needs to be there. I think that there's people who are have a very rigid, kind of setup in their lives, and with that, things are going to suffer, right? So, are you able to pivot and be flexible when you're needed in other areas of your life? To me, is the most important thing. I don't think that there's ever a true balance.
I think that's the strength of an entrepreneur, is that flexibility and shifting and making decisions fast, or deciding when a decision needs to be, okay, it's not a priority right now. And
Mhm.
having that ability to do that on a
Mhm.
day-to-day basis. Because you're right, life ebbs and flows.
Yeah,
And you never know what's going to come and hit you tomorrow or this afternoon. And
no idea
yeah,
ever.
yeah, and embrace it, through
Yeah,
all the sadness and the joy. I mean,
yeah,
and that is, I'm a big wine person, and because it goes so great with cheese.
obviously.
But yeah, I think wine is certainly, and cheese, and just that whole experience and creating experiences. But it carries you through, it nourishes you through the good times and the bad times, and it's just a great partnership.
Yeah.
What causes or foundations, and maybe this is just a lead into your She Can nonprofit. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we have the McBride Sisters She Can Funds. In 2019, we created our She Can Wines, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's wine in a can made by women and meant to empower women with the freedom of choice and in, unique packaging. But at the same time, we launched our fund, McBride Sister She Can Fund. And the initial intention was just kind of what we were speaking about earlier, women's professional development, specifically in wine and spirits, and networking and community, right? Which was the things that we had such a hard time finding when we started our business 18 years ago. And so when we launched the funds, we had, I think, maybe 12 women in the cohort, and they received scholarships for WSET certification, for sommelier exams and certification, and a couple of business students who were getting business degrees in the field. And that kind of like from that the inception, the very first year, that definitely sparked a newfound passion for us, and we continued each year. The next year, of course, was 2020, which was completely different for everybody in the heat of the pandemic. That next year, we sort of shifted our focus to women entrepreneurs, just because of the uncertainty that was going on with businesses, with small businesses, particularly businesses of color. We learned with the PPP funding that 95% of Black-owned businesses weren't getting the emergency funding that was available. And so we switched that year to just emergency cash grants for Black women-owned businesses. And we got great support from large corporations like Meta, Facebook, and banks, and all of these things. And we sort of set in our mind, okay, what we're actually going to do is each year choose a focus for the funds. And of course, a portion of the wines goes to support the fund, and we have individual donors and sponsors who support it as well. We've added on an academic sort of arm with an HBCU with Southern University in Louisiana, who has an agriculture center. So now we span women in wine and spirits, entrepreneurs, and then this pipeline that we think is so critical for the wine industry towards engaging and bringing in new and young talent at the academic level to come in and be a part of this amazing industry.
I think that's fantastic. I absolutely love it. And I'm going to bring it up to my sisters because we'd love to join you in supporting that and donating to She Can,
Oh,
because
that would be amazing.
it just affects our whole food industry and really bringing people up, especially women in the industry. So
Yeah.
thank you for all you do, you and Andrea. So appreciated. And I know we've taken up already a half an hour of your time.
I love
Anything
it.
else you'd like to add at this point?
Just that I want to come hang out with you guys. So
I
I know
know,
we
yeah,
send cheese and wine back and forth to each other all the time, but like I want to, like the ladies behind you, I want to come meet these cow ladies.
yeah.
I think we're overdue for some in-person time to drink wine and eat some amazing cheeses in beautiful Northern California. So let's get
I
booked.
absolutely agree. Why don't we plan a dinner with your, what we'll do, feature all your wines at every course, and we can invite other women in the industry and have
Amazing.
some, great conversations and great toasts, and really celebrate each other. And who knows, maybe start another business together.
I mean, you never know what happens, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And we're open to everything.
Well, thank you again so much. It is early in the morning, but don't you worry, we're going to open this up at some point today. And I so appreciate your time and everything that you do for the industry and for women. So congratulations on all your success, and
Thank
happy
you.
National Women's Month.
Happy International Women's Month.
International
Thank you
Women's Month.
so much for having me. And I think March 8th is actually International Women's Day, which is
Okay.
where we do our announcement of what the fund focus is going to be for the year. But we
Oh,
kind of
great.
do a lot of activities on March 8th as the day. But of course, all month is around celebrating women. So
Oh, great.
cheers to you, ladies. And thank you for having me. And hopefully, we'll be eating and drinking together very soon.
Okay, I forgot to ask you, tell everybody, we talked about She Can, and they can donate on your website, I'm guessing, but
Yes.
where can they find your wines?
So our wines are distributed nationally. So we have our three brands, which is McBride Sisters Collection. That's our Central Coast and New Zealand wines. We have She Can Wines, which are wines and spritzers. We have wine spritzers as well. And then we have Black Girl Magic wines, which is California wines. All of our wines are distributed nationally and also available on our website. So we're in pretty much all of the main grocery stores and retailers. So, you know, Whole Foods, Safeways, Kroger's, Publix, wherever you live. But you can go to our website. We have a store locator, so you can plug in your zip code. It'll show you the stores near you. And then we sell our wines direct on our website also. And then we have some reserve wines that you can only purchase on our website and that are part of our club membership. So McBrideSisters.com will get you everything that you need.
Great. Oh, fantastic. Well, thank you so much. And after this, we'll get on an email and we'll plan a night so we can
I
all
love
get.
it. I love it.
Okay.
Let's do it.
All
All right.
right. Thanks,
Thank you
Robin.
so much.
Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.